Hey, futurist Jim Carroll. Listen, if you caught my blog post this morning, my daily inspiration, I was writing a story about the story of Timidus. It's a little animated short I put together using AI. I generated the images using AI. I generated the scenery using some AI tools. I generated the voiceover using Snoop Dogg's voice using an AI tool that generates Snoop Dogg's voice using AI. Generated the music backing track using AI, and actually generated the story itself using AI. And the reason I did all this is because I wanted to explore what's going on out there with the acceleration of all these technologies. We truly live in the era of a magic where a whole bunch of stuff is coming together all at once. And I think I sort of predicted this years ago. Look, I've been predicting trends in the future and stuff for years and years. And years ago, I wrote this post, 20 Trends to 2030. The big disruptive trends which are transforming industries. And I, talk about electric cars and talk about, the future of energy and renewables and, all the serious hardcore trends. You can go there, hit 2030.jimcarroll.com, but way down the page, and I've always been thinking about this as AI has been evolving. I've got this section on entertainment, the future of entertainment, what's going to happen with entertainment, see if I can find it here. And what I'm sort of writing is, look, what I wrote back then was, and I think I wrote this about 2013, 2014, the explosion of deepfake technology is going to mean that people are going to be able to create their own videos. There's going to be a blurring between reality and unreality, and people are going to have tools to just create mind-bending stuff. And I think that's where we are with AI right now. And that's the reason why, yesterday, Sunday, I had a little bit of time to kill after golf, and I just, set out on this voyage with a few hours to discover what I could do to create the story of Timidus the mouse. And I'm going to show the video clip at the end of this because, it's kind of fun. I'm driving my wife crazy playing it so much. But here's where we started. I wanted to, take one of my blog posts and do something special with it. And by the way, you can go hit my blog, jimcarroll.com/blog, and you can find the whole story of everything I did. I explained it sort of step by step how I put this video together. But my starting point was to find a blog post. What could I use to create sort of an artificial story, a kid's book? Everybody's always told me I should write a kid's book. So that was my starting point. And I went and found this blog post, A Bold Future Abhors a Timid Mind. This is one I wrote in my daily inspiration back in July. And it's all about auto companies and, Ford versus Tesla and the rush to electric vehicles and how auto companies are truly wimps. They had been wimps when it came to the future, and that's why they're falling so far behind. So it's a long post that, talks about the type of stuff that I talk about. And I thought that would be the good basis for making perhaps a creative little kid's story. And I've been playing around with this service called Text Cortex. A lot of my time in between keynotes right now, I'm exploring just a vast number of different AI services just to understand what is out there because there's so much going on. It's literally staggering. So I went into this service called Text Cortex, and over there on the left side, there's a creative button, and it basically is suggesting to you, I'll rewrite your text for you. Give me your text, and I'll rewrite it into something creative. So I took the text for that, for that particular blog post. So if I go and I copy this and drag the text from my very serious business disruption post as to how disruptors hate a timid mind. And if I paste that into it and I say, make it creative. Well, what it came back was, oh, look at that. It's writing it right now. What it came back was this magical little story about Timidus the mouse. And it actually came up with the name Timidus. And wow, this is kind of cool. This is kind of creative. So you can see it generating in the background over there. And it wrote me about 5 or 6 or 7 paragraphs with this whole story that sort of fit the theme of that very serious business blog post that I did. It offered up a bunch of options, but it had this wonderful little thing in here about Timidus the mouse. And I say I'm not getting the same version the second time around, but what it gave me was this great little story about Timidus the mouse. So I decided I had to create this guy. I had to create a story. I had to create Timidus the mouse. So I went off to Midjourney. And I began to play around with prompts to create Timidus the mouse. And I worked with a bunch of prompts and explored a bunch of things and tried a bunch of ideas. And I've got a billion images in my Midjourney. And I eventually came up with, a variety of little mice people that would be Timidus. And if I scroll up here, I'm going to find, there he is there. Look at him. I mean, he's the cutest little guy you might ever see. I mean, you know, the story of Timidus, and I fit him into the storyline. The funny thing is this storyline then talked about the big owl, the big wise thinker owl. And this is what an AI made up. And get this, the big wise thinking AI owl used my tagline when talking to Timidus about you need to think big, start small, scale fast. So I went off to figure out how to draw Timidus, and I found Timidus. So I had these images that I was using as the baseline for my story. Now I wanted to do a video. Why stop at just, you know, an illustrated little book? So what I did was I went over to Runway. There's a lot of services moving online that will take an image, any type of image, doesn't have to be generated by AI, and we'll add motion to it. So what I'm doing here is I'm uploading the image of Timidus that I got through Midjourney, and it's going to generate me 4 seconds of animated video. And what it's doing here is it's taking the video and it's actually animating it. It's adding some life to it. It's at 11% right now, and I mean, there's a huge amount of processing going on in the background. I'm using a free account. You can do a lot more if you use a paid account. You will be noticing a flood of new AI generated shorts online. This is one of the primary tools that they're using to do this. So I fed in, you know, my images of Timidus. I created some images of the land far, far away using Midjourney. I created, you know, images of the wise owl. I fed all these things into Runway. It's that way. And here's what we got. Look, there's Timidus, the image I fed it. But if we click play, you'll see suddenly he's an animated little guy. And I can extend this to 8 seconds. I can add 4 seconds to it. But basically, I spent some time to create, you know, magical little short clips. Then I took a break and I was, you know, like wandering around LinkedIn while I was figuring out what am I going to do next. And if you've been spending any time on LinkedIn as of late, you will have noticed Snoop Dogg has a presence. He joined LinkedIn like a month ago, and it's absolutely fascinating because he's posting actually quite wonderful stories about creativity and innovation and what he's done to reinvent his career along the way, and you know, things he's done from a creative perspective. And I thought, like, wouldn't it be absolutely wonderful if Snoop Dogg narrated my little video short? How do you do that? Well, it turns out there's a service called Speechify, which lets you do exactly that. So I went in, created an account, loaded up my little AI-generated kid story about Timidus the mouse, fed it into Speechify, got Snoop Dogg, his voice back as the voiceover track reading the story. And then I thought, well, I mean, look, I got to have a little bit of a, you know, musical background, hip hop beat. So I went into the Google Test Kitchen. It's an R&D service that they have, which lets you explore some of the things they're working on. So I went in there, and what they've put together is the type of thing you're seeing elsewhere already online, text to audio generators. So right now you're using ChatGPT, you're doing text to image. This is text to audio. And so I went in and I, you know, said, okay, the music large language model, give me a simple, simple hip hop beat as a backing track, and told it to generate it. And it goes away and gives me 2 tracks. And all of a sudden I had, you know, backing music for this little thing. And, you know, I put all that together in a video editor, and I created it and I loaded up the story of Timidus the mouse. I mean, I limited it to 45 seconds. I could have gone on and on and on. But my point was made. Number one, I wanted to learn about what was involved in doing this. And number two, I wanted to understand how quickly this stuff is maturing. And it's moving pretty darn fast. So I'm going to play for you the 45-second clip. The world premiere of Timidus the mouse as generated by an AI with an AI version of Snoop Dogg doing the voiceover with an AI backing track generated by Google Test Kitchen. Here we go.
Once upon a time, in a land far away, there lived a timid little mouse named Timidus. Timidus was always afraid to take risks and try new things. He spent his days nibbling on cheese and hiding in his little mouse hole, never daring to venture out into the big wide world. One day, a wise old owl named Big Thinker came to visit Timidus. Big Thinker was known throughout the land for his big ideas and bold approach to life. He saw something special in Timidus and knew that he could help him unlock his true potential.
I mean, to me, this is just absolutely wild that we live in this type of era. And if I go back to my the post I did in 2030.jimcarroll.com, where 10, 15 years ago I was predicting some of the trends we might see in the future, and writing about the fact that we would be in the era of deepfake technology, where anybody could generate a video about anything, utilizing very sophisticated tools. And in that post I was talking about using CGI. I didn't anticipate AI, but like here we are. We're in that era of absolute magic, and you can consider that in the context of what I'm doing in my home broadcast studio here right now as I talk to you, dressed on top and party on the bottom with shorts. Somebody said to me, my green screen studio here 5 years ago, this probably would have cost $500,000, and it's now something that is as common as nails. So I am stunned by the world we're living in. Fascinating, exploring the technologies that are appearing out there, and absolutely magical to understand what it is we can accomplish with some of these tools. So I'm continuing to explore all this stuff to figure out what the heck is going on out there. This stuff is evolving at such a speed. There's both opportunity and peril, challenge and risk. Whatever the case is, we don't know exactly where we're going with AI, but it's making great time. You can learn more about what I'm doing. Hit jimcarroll.ai, hit ai-megatrends.jimcarroll.com, and read the post about Timidus the Mouse. It's over my blog this morning, jimcarroll.com/blog, and you can read the whole story of how I put this together. That's it for now. Future is Jim Carroll.